Welcome in, everybody, to the Rock Chalk Report. I am one of your hosts, Michael Darcy, and I am joined by my good friends, Austin Eckert and Joey Segura. And over the course of the next 20 to 30 minutes, we are going to talk all things Kansas basketball. It has been a busy offseason, but if you guys are new to this channel, hit that like button and subscribe. We're going to have Jayhawks content all offseason, during the season next year. Super excited to have you along for this journey. But Eckert, I want to get your thoughts on just the transfer portal and what it's been like over the last week and a half, because while there haven't been a lot of huge surprises, there were a couple departures that were a little bit surprising.
I just think Bill Self right now is clearing house. I mean, you look at how the team was this past season. I mean, there was just a lot of promise, but, it just wasn't the right mix of guys. And I think the one transfer out of the six that really stands out to me is Flory. And I didn't really expect Flory to enter the portal. I thought he would still have a role for this upcoming season. And so I don't know what's going to happen to Flory, but my gut feeling tells me that he's not going to be back at KU. Now, of course, there is still a chance that he could come back, because he did say, or I think his guardian said that he was, they were going to look into going back, but I just don't see it happening, guys. But in terms of like the other five, transfers, I mean, I had a feeling that's at least 3 or 4 of them were going to enter the portal, but seeing just all 6 of those guys enter the portal, I mean, it just goes to show you KU's clearing house. You got the best basketball player in the entire country, coming in for this upcoming, draft class. I mean, so you got to make it right for Darren Peterson.
Yeah, Joey?
Yeah, same kind of sentiment. I think everybody else was somewhat expected. I think Rakis was kind of on the middle ground. You could kind of see him leaving or staying, really either one. Flory was really surprising just because, I mean, he was poised to come back and be our starting guy. And as of now, before the transfer portal obviously plays out, he would have been the next guy next to Darren, who would have probably gotten the most touches on the team. So that was surprising. But really with Darren, it's kind of a positive look I'm going to try to take on it of Bill Self is going to get a chance to clear house and basically build a team around the best prospect he's said he's ever gotten. And the way he looks, that looks like that's the truth. Like he is going to be this kid coming in and maybe Cooper Flag level good of having a chance to win player of the year right off the bat and giving Bill Self a whole offseason to basically handpick an entire roster around him. Hopefully he can hit on his guys. I'm really excited for that.
I mean, I think there's so much excitement and anticipation. And I know that you've got, one more year left at KU. So like you get to watch Darren Peterson. My final 2 years were watching Hunter Dickinson and KJ Adams just completely tank this, this organization. But I feel like Darren is one of those guys that you just have to build around. It is kind of funny that when he was playing in that tournament in Lawrence at Haskell, they asked him which player he wanted to play with. And he's like, obviously Flory. And to see Flory not here and all these guys decommitting, and I guess not decommitting, but just transferring out, there was a little bit of time where I was like, if you're Darren Peterson, why stay committed? Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone else is decommitting. You just had a very down season. Listen, I guess it speaks to the character that he has and that he wants to come here and play for Coach Self. But man, in the current landscape of college basketball where letters of intent and signing doesn't really mean anything, it's just like to see him stay, or at least as of right now, I think that's a very encouraging sign.
Yeah, I mean, it is encouraging, but I mean, somebody asked Darren Peterson at a press conference not too long ago. He was like, has Bill talked to you at all about, everything going on? And Bill's like, you better not worry. So it gives me some glimmer of hope that Darren Peterson ain't going to, decommit or, remove his letter of intent and go somewhere else. I think he's a Jayhawk, and he will be a Jayhawk here in a few months.
Well, but should he be worried? Because I think that that's one thing that over the past couple of seasons, the transfer portal is like very active, and KU kind of got the first big one in Hunter Dickinson a couple of years ago. But I feel like overall, the transfer portal has been something that Bill Self has not been able to navigate. He's brought in big names. It hasn't really worked out. So I understand that Bill Self's great. He's probably one of the 3, 4, 5 best coaches in college basketball. But, we were going to get into that argument of like, is it past his prime? Like, is this a landscape that he can navigate? And so, like, do you guys even think that, like, we should be like, yeah, Bill Self can build this team in this current era when it's like we haven't really seen them do it?
Yeah, I mean, I trust him. You kind of got to look at Bill, and he hitched his horse to the wrong his wagon to the back to a wrong horse. Like Hunter was just not a right fit here, and that's not even necessarily Hunter's fault. As much blame as Hunter got, Bill built a bad team around him. But like going into last year, we had a kind of season where you had two starters that were 4-year guys coming back in KJ and Dewan, and realistically, that is not going to be the future anymore of college basketball. The odds of seeing a guy at Kansas stay all 4 years is going to be less and less. It's just not going to be very common anymore. So I think you really got to give Bill a year or two at least after a completely new slate. We're going to see what he does this year with Darren and then next year as well, hopefully. And just give him some time to adjust to it, because really he didn't get a chance to fully go through the portal ways teams like Duke has or even Auburn, for example.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this upcoming season, I think a lot of people probably thought of this, throughout the season, this past season, if they don't build the right team around Darren Peterson, I think a lot of people are probably going to think in the back of their minds that, next year could be Bill Self's last year as the head coach. Now, obviously, nobody wants that to happen. Nobody wants that particular outcome, especially with what's happened the past 2 seasons. But I mean, like, it's kind of a make or break, off season, really. I mean, this is like one of the most pivotal off seasons that KU basketball has ever had, probably in decades. I mean, I can't really think of like of a more important off season than this one. I mean, like last year was important, sure, but I mean, like this one is completely different, and it's unlike anything that I think fans have experienced over the years. So, you gotta get it right for DP, otherwise, it's not going to be a good future ahead. But we'll just hope that KU can build the right team.
Well, it's almost like, at what point does college basketball entirely go away from recruiting high school guys? Like, with the transfer portal being what it is and guys just hopping around to a different school every year, what is the point in trying to go get a kid out of high school and, maybe waste a year of his development, or he has to sit and he doesn't like that he has to sit, and then he transfers out because some team's going to give him a bunch of money? I feel like that's kind of what happened with Flory. Like, they brought Flory in to sit his first year essentially behind Hunter Dickinson, and I think that that's probably what ended up happening. It wasn't that he was sitting behind Hunter Dickinson. It was that KJ Adams, when he got hurt, made Flory the starter. And then when KJ came back, it's like, Flory, go back to the bench. And dude, if I was Flory and I got benched for KJ Adams, I'd be pissed. I'd be so pissed. And I think that's probably why at the end of the day, he ended up transferring, because it's not, I don't think it was even a money thing, because KU would have given him all the money he wanted. It's just like, we had a problem with playing guys over guys that maybe had more talent or maybe had better, upside. And I think that's also why, the locker room was kind of fractured last year. I don't know really where it came from, but it kind of just felt like that team was not very close.
I mean, no, not really. I mean, like the one moment that really stood out to me as I kind of reflect on the season was the reaction after they beat Duke. I mean, you guys saw the videos on social media. Everybody on the team was, being all camaraderie, and everybody was, hugging on each other, celebrating and everything. And then all of a sudden, you go on and you play Missouri and Creighton, all these other teams, and then you get into Big 12 play, and it's just the same problems, every now and then. And I don't know. I said it a while ago, and I'm sure you two might have different thoughts on this, but like there have been some games where it really turned the tide, for the season, right? Like the double overtime loss to Houston at home, the loss at Baylor, the blowout loss at BYU. There's so many, but I really think the loss at Missouri, as much as I hate to say it, I think it pivoted us into a different direction. it led to all these losses that KU shouldn't have had, and I think that's what really started the inconsistencies. That might have been where KU broke. I don't know. Granted, they did play Creighton, before Missouri, and I think everybody in the back of their minds thought that Creighton was going to win that game. It's a Wednesday night game. Creighton's going to be juiced to play that game. Like KU is going to also be juiced as well, but I mean, it's tough to win on the road, at midweek, especially against a team like Creighton. But I really think the Missouri loss, pivoted the season.
I think
what
the
loss
Missouri
do you think
was,
they kind of gave up? Like, was there a loss that kind of goes in your mind like, oh, it's over?
Houston.
Really? You think it was that early?
Yeah. Well, that was when the sirens really started going off in my head, at least. Like, obviously losing to Missouri and Creighton back-to-back was very tough, but part of me could kind of put it off, kind of like Austin said. Creighton, that was a trap game. Like, that was a game going in. Everybody knew that's a trap game for Kansas. Losing to Missouri is when the worry really started. But to blow that double overtime lead, and then when you watch KU after that, they just never had the oomph factor kind of after it. That you could tell they were deflated. They never got back on track with it. And I don't know what it was specifically about that one. And I think part of it too is it's harder to be together as a team when it's all transfers. In past years, when it's a team that's been together for 3 or 4 years, or some of the pieces have, it's easier to stay with each other through the highs and lows. When you're a new team like this and a lot of new transfers and stuff, staying with the highs is easy. I mean, everybody can do that when you're winning. That's not hard. But when you're struggling and things like that, and you've only known the guy next to you for 3 months, and for guys like AJ Storr and Rylan Griffin, and Flory, obviously now, given that he hit the portal, who clearly probably had trust issues with Bill Self and the way he was handling them, that just makes everything so much harder when you're losing and you're not a close locker room. It's just going to be harder to come back together to be able to get back after those bad losses.
Yeah, man. The one loss that I look at and I'm like, this kind of felt like it was when they lost in Utah, and I understand that it was a late game and, they had to travel, but it's just like, man, Utah wasn't good. Like I understand losing to BYU. I don't understand losing to them like that, but it just felt like when they lost to Utah, it's just like, that's when the finger pointing started to come in. That's when they kind of started to give up a little bit. As frustrating as it was to lose to Houston, I still can't really fathom that they lost that game, if that makes sense. Like, how do you lose twice? They lost that game twice. And I don't know. I feel like that one's bad, but Houston was one of the best teams in the country. Like, losing to Utah on the road when, if I'm correct, you lost the game before. Like, you needed that as a bounce back. Who'd they lose to or play before Utah?
That was wasn't that they played BYU and Utah back to back? I just don't know if it was BYU before.
They might have played BYU.
It was Utah and then BYU.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they come off a loss to play Utah, or did they win? I want to say they played Cincinnati or something. Maybe they beat. I know they beat Cincinnati, but there's not a lot of Big 12 wins this year to pick from.
Yeah.
No, there isn't.
But
I'm trying to look at the schedule here, guys. I apologize.
No.
So which game are we talking about again? Remind me.
We're just talking about how Utah's loss felt worse.
Mm-hmm. The game before Utah. Who do we?
Oh, that was Colorado at home.
Okay.
Because
then we lost. We lost to Kansas State before the Colorado games.
That must have been what it was. We had, by the way, and I'm not trying to turn this into a K-State podcast. We lost to K-State in Manhattan the last 3 years, right?
Yeah. Jerome Tang is 3-0 against Kansas in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
that's not good.
No, I hate that.
But no, I feel like it's nice that this season is over, and I really do like that they're kind of cleaning house. And getting rid of everybody. I would have been, I don't know about you guys, I would have been pissed if AJ Storr was the only one to stay. I would have been furious. Because, dude, I think he was worse than Rylan. Because at least it felt like Rylan tried, and he didn't make shots. Yeah. And he was kind of one-dimensional. But it felt like AJ Storr just went out there, got cardio, and shot chucked, and just took horrible shots. There was multiple times where he would shoot a basketball, and it would airball or not even get to the back of the rim. And it was just like, what are you doing?
I mean, how many missed layups did AJ Storr have this season? I mean, he had like 20 million of them.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah, I was really high on AJ Storr, and that's my fault, before the season
We all
started,
were.
because,
We all were.
We all.
Yeah, but I didn't realize beforehand that he transferred to like 6 different schools, including high school and college. So that's like, I don't know why I ignored that part of him, but yeah, like once you started to see the inconsistencies, come out of him, in some games, you were like, oh boy, this one's not going to work out. And then everybody's wondering, oh, is he going to be another Remy? Is he going to be another Remy? Oh, he's just going to play well in the tournament and this and that. And guys, Remy, like,
I didn't buy that bullshit for 1 second. There was no way.
I didn't buy it either. I mean, you can't really compare, anybody to Remy Martin. I mean, what Remy Martin did, like, I don't think anybody's ever going to do again, in his particular situation. So, I mean, Ryland was really good. I was kind of shocked to see him enter the transfer portal specifically, but I bet he goes to a Texas school or something. I mean, he's from Dallas, so we'll see what happens.
I feel like what? Well, and by the way, AJ Storr went off against UCF in the Big 12 tournament, so it's like, let's calm down a little bit. Like, the UCF was not good, but I don't know.
No.
I feel like being able to clean house is a good thing. You got to build around Darren Peterson, obviously. KU did just get a recruit from Loyola. I can't remember his name. Do you have that, Eckert?
Jaden Dawson.
Jaden
Dawson. Yep.
I did see that wicked slam that he had, but hopefully there's more to his game than that.
I think so. I mean, if he's able to take a wide open shot, I think he can get it. I mean, he moves the ball around efficiently, and I mean, he doesn't put up 20 points per game or anything like that, but I mean, I feel like he's very consistent, and he's the type of guy KU's looking for.
Because that's my thing.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Like, I feel like KU fans, I've seen the mixed reactions with it, because the comparison, I know before this we were talking about how people were kind of comparing him to AJ Storr. I've seen like Nick Timberlake comps.
I was about to bring that up.
Like it's a kid from a mid-major, but the thing is Bill Self the last 2 years went out and tried to get high-profile transfer guys and basically just threw a bag at them and didn't really look at the fit, and it was the worst 2 years we've had in a long time. So with Darren Peterson specifically, the best way to give a freshman some breathing room, one that's as talented at scoring the ball as him, surround him with shooters, man. And that's what this kid is. He doesn't need the ball in his hands. He can create when he gets the ball in his hands. He can get to the rim, but he can kind of spot up, kind of move around, and that's what you need around Darren. So I'm fine if you fill this roster out with 7 other Jaden Dawsons. I'm not going to complain about that.
Well, I was just going to say, I feel like Nick Timberlake hurt the fan base so much because it's just like anyone from a mid-major is just not going to work out. But like, honestly, Bill Self's kind of, 50-50, because I would say Zeke Mayo was a really good addition. He was a really good player here. Couldn't play defense, but he was a great shot. He could make shots, and it felt like at times he was the only guy that could score on this team, which that's just bad roster construction. If Zeke Mayo is the only guy that can get a shot off, then you probably don't have a very good roster. But I feel like that was a good transfer. He worked out here. It just didn't work out around him.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, would y'all consider Kevin McCullough to be a good well, I mean, I guess he's, Big 12, so he's not mid-major. So I mean,
when he played, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I realize, I mean, we're talking about mid-majors and not just like any transfer, but I mean, yeah, because I mean, I had a conversation with somebody the other day about like, all right, well, just tell me the transfer players at KU that have ended up working out, because everybody's just laser focused on what's happened with AJ Storr and Nick Timberlake, but I was talking about it and I was like, well, Kevin I thought was really good, and yeah, I thought Zeke was a good transfer. He just had trouble playing defense, as you said, Michael, and also like getting the rebounds too. I thought that was an issue for him as well, and I felt like that was just a team-wide issue. But I mean, if he had one more year of eligibility, I think he would have been maybe a better player for next season for us. But I mean, it really sucks though that coming in here, he wanted to do so many things, being a hometown kid, and I just hate that the season worked out the way it did for him, with his opportunity to come back and play at his hometown school.
Well, no one's gonna be like, "Oh, Zeke Mayo is awesome on that team." You know, like no one's gonna look back and be like, "Oh, Zeke Mayo, what a clutch shooting performance." No, it's like you were on one of the most hated Kansas teams in the last 25 years. Like that's horrible. And he's a hometown kid too. He went to Lawrence High School, and that's his legacy. Like that's horrible.
Like, when's the last time you heard anybody bring up Dedrick Lawson? And he averaged like 17 and 8 here, but his team was mediocre and lost in, I can remember the second round, I think. So like nobody talked about it.
Was that to USC?
That was the year before, after. That was 2020 we lost, or 2021 we lost to USC.
Who did he lose to in the tournament? I'm trying to think.
It would have been 2019. Oh man. See, I block out these bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say the bad memories. They don't.
I'm not gonna find this out. Let's see.
But no, yeah, no one talks about Dedrick Lawson, even though he was really good. Like, I don't think people are gonna be like Hunter Dickinson, really good, like one of the best players in the Big 12. No one's gonna be like that because I feel like the perception around him is that at times it looked like he kind of gave up a little bit. There wasn't a lot of energy for a guy that's 7'1" or 7 foot plus. Why is getting rebounds such a challenge? Like, I just don't understand it. Like, you'd see guys like, I mean, KJ just tried harder, so he'd have more rebounds. But I don't understand how if you're that tall, you're not coming down with at least 10 boards a night.
No, I really don't know either. But I mean, pointing to KJ though, I mean, I felt like he put in the most amount of effort out of everybody on the team, and anytime he would have like a big dunk or he would knock down a shot, he would get the crowd fired up. And really, I felt like as much criticism KJ Adams gets, I will say that, he was basically our guy. Like we needed to depend on him anytime we needed like an energy boost, especially when we're down, by 5 or 10 points. He kept us in games during the season. And it's unfortunate that he gets as much criticism as he does, because I feel like he puts in the most effort.
Yeah.
Or I feel like he did during the season.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it was his fault either. It's like it's on self. Like, it's not KJ. KJ's not the one playing himself 35 minutes a game. He's going to go out there and do it because he's a team guy. But I feel like people weren't waving the finger enough at self. People were, don't get me wrong, but like self playing KJ the most is why he got that hate. Because if KJ played the Mitch Lightfoot role, like
I was gonna say the Mitch Lightfoot or Landon Lucas, he'd be loved.
Yeah.
So it sucks. It sucks it sucks for him because he went out horribly. He tore his Achilles, if I'm correct.
Yeah, he tore his Achilles.
Yeah,
I think we could have won that game if we had him in that zone, dude.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, once KJ went out with that injury, KU lost that game. Like, I think Arkansas went on like a 15-5 run in the final 5 minutes. So, yeah. I mean, if KJ didn't get hurt, I think KU would have won that game. And I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it. I mean, do they beat St. John's? I mean, listen, St. John's doesn't score a whole lot of points, and I mean, I was there watching that Arkansas St. John's game, and I mean, like, Arkansas pretty much did the same things that they did to KU, and I mean, like, I think it would have been definitely doable for KU to do the same. And I don't know. I think KU would have probably made the Sweet 16 if KJ didn't get hurt. I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, I mean, it was a terrible season. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know. Maybe we probably would have lost to St. John's, and they would have ended up going to the Sweet 16 to play Texas Tech. But you can make an argument that they could have made the Sweet 16.
I was just going to say St. John's physicality kind of concerned me. I thought they were a little too physical for us. I feel like we're kind of soft, honestly, which is not something that I'm used to saying about Bill Self basketball teams. Like, they seemed very soft.
I think that's what's been so different is in past years too, they seem soft, and Bill Self teams win these close games because they don't make the mistakes down the stretch. And it felt like this year in every close game, this team basically did everything wrong that they could possibly do wrong. Like, it just in that Houston game, I mean, DeJuan Harris is the 6th-year senior shooting free throws, and all he has to do is knock down one, and this game's sealed, and can't do it. The choke against Baylor, I mean, it's just not something we've ever seen from Bill Self teams. I mean, it's just even the Bill Self teams in the past that we didn't consider that great, 2021, 2019, they didn't do that. Like, they still found ways to win some of the clutch games, even though they weren't as good as his best teams,
Yeah. Yeah. It's so crazy that we saw those execution errors from juniors and 6-year seniors and seniors. Yeah. And it's like, I really do think that a lot of that is transfer portal. Like, these are guys that played together for 5 or 6 months. Like, it's just different. Like, you can't get the chemistry like, those teams in the early 2010s that played with each other for 3 or 4 years, sometimes 5 years. That's just something that in this current college basketball landscape, we'll probably never see again. And that's why this Final Four with, Houston and Duke and Florida and Auburn, it's going to be so interesting because for me, in my opinion, the formula to win a title, you got to have juniors and seniors that have that experience, but Duke kind of defies those odds. And so if they win this year, it's like, whoa, like, you can win with freshmen. Those freshmen have to be insane. You got to have NBA talent, but I think that there's just not a very proven history that says freshmen can win an NCAA title.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, just with the Final Four in general, though, I mean, like, all 4 teams, like, have built their rosters pretty well. I mean, you just gotta. I would, if I were Bill Self, though, I would take, like, the same approach that Kelvin Sampson takes. I feel like everybody on Kelvin Sampson's teams, just throughout the years, I feel like, the reason why they're so good is because they buy into the culture. I mean, you guys see the clips of, like, their practices and everything. Like, they're very physical during practice. And I don't know if, like, that's something, to keep in mind for this upcoming season. Like, maybe get a little bit more physical in practices, so that way you're not playing soft. You're not playing, like, with no energy or with no willingness to go up and get a rebound offensively or defensively. It doesn't matter. I feel like, I just want guys that can freaking rebound, man. Like, nobody could rebound except for maybe KJ or Flory. I thought Flory did a good job rebounding, but I mean, we got to get guys that can rebound. I mean, that's why all 4 of these teams are in the Final Four. So
I think KU also needs guys that care. It seemed last year that they were playing because it was cool to play at Kansas, and they kind of didn't really buy into, like, what it truly means. And is it really something that I can blame them for? They're getting paid all this money. It doesn't mean that they have to go out and perform. I think that the drive for a lot of guys just wasn't there. And especially when they started losing, it just compiled and they just snowballed. Like, I think if this was 2015, 16, 1 or 2 losses, this team is completely different. They're probably making a deep NCAA tournament run, but that's just not what it's like when you have all of these different people who have all their own egos, who are getting paid differently. It's just, they haven't been to the program. Like, all of those guys, to a certain extent, I mean, outside of DeJuan and KJ, from different programs, played at different colleges. They got put together, and it didn't really work out.
Yeah. I mean, I think you bring up a good point of, is the money going to kind of change some dude's mentality? I think you like to think that there's a good chunk of guys who still would not, the money won't change that. I was listening to a podcast last night, and he's been in the NBA for a while, but like Alex Caruso was talking about NIL, and he was saying, like, he's a very competitive guy, but if you put 20-year-old him making $1.5 million in college, he's like, I don't know that my drive back then would have been the same that it was, because, you have this bag now. And I think you kind of saw that with guys like DeJuan and AJ. I think DeJuan, even though he wasn't a transfer, he stayed. I think the most infuriating part about DeJuan's game is really from his sophomore year to this last season, you didn't see any changes in his game. He was essentially the same basketball player. Actually, he regressed this year. He shot way worse from the field. Watching him run the fast break was one of the worst things I've ever watched in the history of basketball. I felt like he was going to blow it every time somehow. And that's just what's annoying about it is when you're in your early 20s, you're supposed to be on a linear projection. Now, it's not always going to work that way, and the growth is always going to be different. But you would hope from your sophomore year to your 6th year, senior year, you're going to improve. And we just didn't see improvement. And that's the kind of mentality thing that I question.
You didn't see improvement from guys like KJ either.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't happen.
He didn't really see improvement from DeJuan either. I mean, can we talk about, just the fact that DeJuan was so good, in his first couple of years at KU, and then I feel like he really regressed these past 2 seasons. And, you got to sit back and wonder, like, should he have, like, left to, like, go try and play in the NBA or G League or something, a long time ago? Or I don't know. What do y'all think?
Joey?
So I saw, I think it was Vernon who tweeted this a few months ago. If you flipped KJ's career at KU, like if you started him off this year and his final year was that national title year, he would be beloved in Kansas because, like you said, Austin, his start here was so promising. Like it was just a refreshing guard who he didn't have the scoring capabilities of past guys, but he could play make, and he was a great defender, won Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, and could shoot the thing. And just to watch him, not improve and not do anything, like why even stay here then? And this is where it kind of why Flory left. Why did Bill Self maybe not question it more? Did he play the favorites in the sense of he liked DeJuan a lot, and so he's like, well, I trust this guy, so I'm going to roll with him, which I understand too, but he didn't show you anything really the last 2 years especially, but even 3 years ago, it was kind of like if you don't have another great scoring player next to him, he's just kind of useless on offense.
When DeJuan Harris was playing his best basketball, he had 2 NBA wings. He had Ochai Agbaji, he had Christian Brown, and he had Remy Martin. Like scorers, guys that could score. And so being a pass first guy, you should be a pass first guy when you got those guys on the team. The issue is, I feel like great basketball players can adapt to different situations. And in his first year or second year, when he won the national championship, he didn't have to be a scorer. Like that was not needed from DeJuan Harris. He played his role perfectly. He was a pass first point guard. Guess what? When all those guys left, Bill Self should have said, hey, DeJuan, we need more from you. We need you to be a scorer. And to me, I felt like it was so frustrating because, he didn't shoot great from the field this year. I really think that he's not a bad shooter. He just does not have that instinct to pull the trigger, shoot the ball. He could be wide open in the corner. He's going to pass it out. And you know what? Oh my, I don't want to start ranting. The thing that pisses me off more than everything, he had a patent move where he would drive baseline and kick, and it's just like, DeJuan, they know you're going to do that every single time. There was times where he would be on a fast break, and instead of going up for a layup, he'd pause, and then it would either get blocked or he'd try to pass out of it. It's just like that aggressiveness isn't there. And it's like, come on.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, DeJuan will take the shots like when he wants to do it. That's the difference. Like I feel like he's not afraid to pull the trigger, but I think he also is at the same time because, and Bill Self, he didn't even like, hey, DeJuan, like, I need you to take these shots, and Bill Self was like, okay, I'm just going to be quiet and just let DeJuan do what he wants to do. And like, I don't know if that was the best idea, because if DeJuan, maybe took some of those shots that we all sat back and were like, oh, nope. Oh, dang it. Okay. Well, we thought you were going to take that shot there. I mean, like there was a lot of that, throughout the season from him. And, also say that, if you had to have DeJuan shoot for like maybe 15, 18 points in a game, like, that the offense isn't doing so hot. But, and I hate that was the narrative with him anytime he got on the scoreboard and put up like, close to the most amount of points scored, by a teammate, during a specific game. But that's how it was.
Well, I'll tell you what, he was taking plenty of shots in the DMs, just not on the court. So go out there and shoot the basketball, DeJuan, please. Please. Oh man. But this last year was frustrating. I'm really excited to see what happens next year. I think the only thing that kind of concerns me is, again, like going back to the formula in my mind that wins a national championship. KU's not going to have that for a long time, and they might never get it again, just with the transfer portal and guys picking a new school every year. I mean, how optimistic are you that this team can maybe make a run next year?
I don't know. like I gotta wait to see what the team looks like before I can really say anything. But Joey, what do you got?
I'm not that bought into it. I mean, obviously, we saw Duke this year kind of make the run with a freshman, and it's possible, but just traditionally, freshman led teams don't have national title aspirations, or if they do, they're kind of unrealistic. I mean, the only exception to the rule I would say is Calipari at Kentucky. But I mean, if you put the right team around Darren and he's the truth, like he's been advertised, I mean, I won't rule anything out. You have a Hall of Fame coach, the best coach we've ever had. And I really agree with what you said. You just have to wait and let the transfer portal shake out before I can really just say, hey, I think they're going to actually make a run or not. I just think it's unfair to say one way or the other right now.
Which we're going to have to be very active on this new channel because that portal closes on April 22nd. We're going to know all the guys that are transferring by April 22nd. And right now, they've got what? 7, 8 scholarships open? Like there's a lot of guys they need to go out in the portal and find. Just give them more shooting, man. More shooting. They definitely need to go find a big now because I know they like Bryson Tiller, but there was even concern that he could transfer with everything going on. Go get another big. Go get more guards. Veteran. I think you got to go find veterans. And if you just look at the formula to win, I think that if you could take all of these sophomores and juniors and a couple seniors and pair that with the talent of Darren Peterson, yeah, they're going to have a good chance to hopefully make a run. But again, we got to see what the team looks like after the portal closes. But guys, I think the final question that I have for both of you is if Kansas basketball stays in the same position next year, let's say maybe they make a little bit of improvement. They're not as bad. Maybe they're more fun to watch. They win a couple more games in the conference, but they still are only third or fourth best in the Big 12. Could that maybe be the final season of Bill Self's coaching career?
Yeah, I think so. Bill Self has been pretty adamant from what we've heard behind the scenes about wanting to leave KU in a better place and in a good place when he leaves because he cares so much about it. And I feel weird saying it because I love Bill Self. He's been coaching longer than I've been alive. And so it'd be weird. But I think if you have another year where he just shows that he didn't navigate the portal really well, I think it might be time for both sides to have a conversation about it and really ask, like, you're getting older. Is this really something that you think you can adjust to in the next year or two? Or is it time for us to move on and strike while the iron's hot and maybe try to go get a guy like Golden at Florida or Nate Oates? I mean, so I don't know. I think the discussion gets serious after next year if it doesn't go the way they hope it does, though, about Self leaving.
Eckert?
I mean, if they finish third or fourth in the Big 12 and they don't finish in the top two, I mean, it's all going to come down to how far they go in the NCAA tournament. I feel like if they do that and they're a first-round exit, in back-to-back seasons, I mean, might be time to start having that conversation. But, yeah, they've got to get it turned around. I mean, Bill Self wants to coach for a long period of time. So, I mean, Joey, I don't know if you brought this up, but you said something about Calipari, but I was going to say, like, this could be like another Calipari situation where, maybe Bill goes on and takes another job if, the struggles continue. I don't know. What job is that going to be? I'm not even going to speculate on that, but I mean, I want Bill Self to be at Kansas for as long as he could possibly be at Kansas. And, despite, everything that's happened the past 2 seasons, I mean, he's done a lot of great things for KU basketball, and we can just only hope that things are going to get better from here. But I mean, if it continues to happen, if the inconsistencies in trying to build a team, come about, 3 years in a row, then yeah, I mean, let's call up Todd Golden or Nate Oates, somebody in the SEC, perhaps, and see what they have to say.
Well, I will say this to kind of give some optimism to this is. Yeah, I understand that Bill Self has maybe had a couple rocky seasons, but I don't think that you can just cut ties with him that easily.
No.
And to kind of bring back to the optimism point of view is like, we lost a lot of games that we normally don't lose. And usually, whether it's football or baseball, and winning a lot of close games, whether it's, a one-run game in baseball or a one, possession game in football, usually those things start to work itself out. And a lot of the games that you might lose one year, you win another year. And so I think KU can expect some improvement on that side of things. But yeah, I think that there's still going to be a lot of questions about what this team is going to be like next year. And we'll hopefully be here for it all to break it down, to cover it, because it's going to be a very entertaining season, even if they don't end up being, the preseason number one overall. Like that, which, by the way, I don't want that at this point. That's been a curse. So
no. We've had the past 2 seasons. We don't need it. Yeah. Somebody else can have it.
But guys, with that being said, I think that is all the time we have here on the Rock Chalk Report. I want to ask you, Joey, and you, Eckert, where can the people find you on socials?
I don't really have any socials I'm going to plug. I'm just a normal student. Y'all are the journalism majors, so I'll let y'all do it.
Well, y'all can find me on Twitter at y'all can find me on Twitter at Austin C. Eckert, right there, right below my my little name tag there. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram too, it's my first and last name with a dot in between. So if y'all want to follow me on Instagram, go for it. But yeah, those are the only 2 socials I'm going to plug.
All righty. Well, guys, all that stuff will be linked in the description of this video. Hit that like button, subscribe for more Jayhawk content, and thank you guys for watching.